Hello everyone, I'm Harit Pathak. I'm the co-founder and CEO of EssentiallySports. We are a top 10 sports publisher in the US. We cover about 14 sports, and our brand of journalism is from the fans' perspective. So we focus on doing content that caters to super engaged niche fan communities, and we look to serve them with a storyline based approach. We love for you to check it out. We have with us today Joel Yashinsky. Um, Joel, welcome. Thank you. Joel is the Chief Marketing Officer at Applebee's Neighborhood Group Bar. Prior to Applebee's, Joel was at McDonald's for 18 years, where he most recently served as US Brand and Marketing Content Vice President for McDonald's USA. Joel also served as Chief Marketing Officer of McDonald's Canada for more than 4 years. He led a team of marketing, consumer, and business insights and menu professionals, along with various agency partners to build customer connectivity to the brand. Prior to joining McDonald's in '98, he held marketing positions with Georgia Pacific and Southwest. Is there anything you've not done?
I'm old.
He's also a graduate of Bowling Green State University in Ohio, a Detroit native, and currently calls Atlanta his home.
Detroit's always my home. I call Atlanta the place that I live. No, and I didn't tell Melissa I was going to wear my Lions kicks today. My Nike Pegasus Lion kicks, they're official too. And I'm a geeky fanboy Lion fan.
So, Joel, you're a QSR veteran with over 18 years at McDonald's, overseeing marketing, branded content, and engagement, most famously spearheading McDonald's all-day breakfast. Now you spent over 6 years running Applebee's marketing. What's the biggest learning you took away from McDonald's that has helped you craft the core branding and marketing strategy for Applebee's?
I think the most important thing for any marketer is just knowing how to listen to your guests. And whether it was 18 years ago where there was very little data and information about them to where you are today in terms of how you market with them on CRM, at the end of the day, it's all about knowing what your guest wants. And so you mentioned all-day breakfast, which was the big insight there that was considered a 5-star idea. It was one of the biggest things people had asked for at McDonald's ever since I started. Before I started, everybody wanted to have Egg McMuffins at breakfast or after breakfast. And so we knew it was a 5-star idea. We just had to work it through the system with operations and with the franchisee partners. But it's really following what are those big ideas and going after the big ideas, I think was most important from my time at McDonald's that I've tried to leverage in terms of what we're trying to do to really bring Applebee's into the fold to its heyday in the 80s and 90s. Certainly saw some tough times in the late 2000 teens or mid 2000 teens, and so making sure we're just always listening to the guests is the number one thing I've always learned from my time at McDonald's or wherever I've been marketing-wise.
Overall, would you say that in terms of the overlap of experience that you've had, there were similarities or there were challenges overall that were new when you took up this role at Applebee's compared to your prior marketing experience, or considering it is also an established brand when you took over, it was actually a little bit more from a playbook perspective.
I think at McDonald's, we had our ups and downs in the 18 years I was there, and some challenging years and some years that we learned what we needed to do to focus the business and the brand to better connect with guests, to deal with the food issues and quality issues that were out there, and really understand as a restaurant what's important, again, to what guests will drive their visit intent. Applebee's had become a bit of a tired brand in the late 2010 into the 2010, and so we had to make ourselves relevant, and how we did that was again finding the areas where our guests were, and what we found was an affinity between our guests and them also being over-indexing towards sports, particularly the NFL, which led to the recent deal with the NFL as an official sponsor. So again, it's all about trying to understand where your guests are, and it's also about being true to who you are. McDonald's fell into some tough times at times trying to be something they weren't. Arch Deluxe, McLean Deluxe, things like that they thought were sort of trendy that didn't succeed are also those that you learn from. Applebee's tried to go to a higher end, more of a steak-focused restaurant chain in the mid-2010s and struggled with it mightily. We went back to more of the core of who we are, and that was critically important for our guests to sort of reconnect with the brand, and then leverage certain opportunities and ideas that kind of broke through, which were like the Dollarita, and now we have America's Favorite Boneless Wings, which we wanted to taste test against Wingstop and Buffalo Wild Wings, and so we're obviously leveraging that. Again, it ties in naturally to the NFL, and so making sure we're doing what our guests like and focusing on that is really where we're spending our time and money.
Diving deeper into the NFL partnership, Applebee's was just named the official grill and bar partner of the NFL. Can you dive deeper into the strategy, the vision behind the partnership, and brand goals overall from this?
Yeah, so about 5 years ago, we partnered with NBC, who've been fantastic partners on their Sunday Night Football pregame show, Football Night in America, which is, Sunday Night Football is by far the #1 show on television in America. Football Night in America is also a top 10 show, and we are an official sponsor of that pregame show. One of the key insights there, and I saw the panel right before lunch talking about women in sports. One of the key insights that led us to make that deal with NBC, which was a big investment for us, was that female viewership for NFL, especially Sunday night football games, and the pregame show was the highest of any football programming, and they had really strong numbers from that standpoint. And so we invested in that partnership with NBC, and then over the last 3, 4, 5 years, realized that there's even a greater affinity between Applebee's guests over-indexing with NFL fans. And so that led us to have conversations with the NFL, and they've been great partners. We just officially announced it a couple weeks ago, but they really worked with us, and we're really excited about what that's going to do to enhance our restaurant experience, as well as tie into loyalty programs and other opportunities for us to connect with our guests, with customers who haven't been or are lapsed guests of Applebee's. So we see a lot of potential with this partnership. We've done and invested with movies. Top Gun was one of them. We worked with The Rock on Jungle Cruise, and we really realized that having the chance to work with the NFL, who does programming for 365 days, a la the awesome 3-day event here in Detroit, we really felt we could leverage the NFL in a way that's going to be very different than a 4-week movie promotion, for instance. But it really all started with Sunday Night Football and Football Night in America, and I think we have a clip of that if we wanted to share that now. So again, yeah, thank you. Great to integrate promotions that we're doing with NBC, and they trust us, we trust them. The fact that we had sort of guerrilla marketing on the set with Dollaritas Are Back and kind of teasing that promotion this past fall was really fun, and they were great partners to help us leverage that communication. So again, how you take the partnership like what we invested with and partnered with NBC, and now what we're doing with the NFL, our job is obviously to execute that at a very high level and make the investment worthwhile, which we're really excited, especially with the NFL, to be able to do that, and how we cross-pollinate with NBC Football Night in America, as well as our other partners who are also official sponsors, be it Pepsi, Anheuser-Busch, and so forth. And so there's a lot of connectivity there that is our job to make sure we do it right and make that investment worthwhile.
Definitely think that there is the organic nature of the partnership, especially with Applebee's core messaging, it fits right in. Wanted to pivot a little bit with these multi-year sports partnerships. How are you leveraging digital channels and sports media to shine a magnifying lens on your amazing creative, like the one that we just saw? What is your approach overall from a digital perspective?
So we've had a lot of success of late in TikTok. Obviously that has a lot of tentacles to it, but it's really been an important element of us for reaching younger consumers and younger guests, which we plan on doing with the NFL. From a social digital standpoint in sports, we've had some great success as well, even recently working with Whistle Sports in terms of a promotion we did with Brandon Ayuk of the 49ers. And he did a fantastic job. I know there's a 49er rep in your JR somewhere. But he did a great job serving as a sort of an undercover server at one of our restaurants. And how do we take that content from a social and digital element is, again, a critical component to what we're trying to do to spread the message, make sure we're attached to the brand, eating good in the neighborhood. We did do a great promotion as well during Football Night in America with Jahmyr Gibbs last fall, where he took his neighbors in the Detroit area to a local Applebee's. And so, again, it's being consistent and focused and not, stretching things a little bit, but not overstretching, and not trying to be something we're not, or try to communicate something we're not. And I think for any of the content we do, it needs to be fun, obviously engaging, but it has to be authentic and real. And I think if we do that, when we do that, we win. And that Brandon Ayuk recent collaboration with Whistle Sports was one of those that worked out really well.
I think we have a spot on that we wanted to show.
If you Google the 5-minute piece, it's actually, he's really funny. And he's like trying to card these 8 and 9-year-old kids, and the father's like, "What are you doing, man?" And people do start to recognize him. It's a really funny piece, but he was a fantastic partner.
Yeah. So Joel, I found the TikTok stuff that Applebee's has been doing very fascinating, and you alluded to some of the movie campaigns, and it seems like a very diversified marketing strategy overall. How does attribution work for you? How do you measure performance? I heard on one of your podcasts that you meet with your analytics person almost every day, and you like to look at the sales aspect, and as important as marketing overall in your role as well. So how do you measure, and how does attribution work?
Yeah, so obviously it's critical that we understand how the investment is working, what the ROI is looking like, and so we're having constant conversations with a number of folks. One, a shout out to all our agency partners. We have Ray, who does our creative initiative with our media, Current does our PR, Barkley does our merchandising, and they're terrific partners, and they all have a role in this as well, because they help measure the engagement, they help measure the positivity that we're seeing. We try to understand, and how do we take the learnings from the last program and try to beat it the next time, and make sure that, again, we're learning continuously in terms of trying to improve upon the work so that we do get the scores that we're looking for. So it goes from our brand health metrics that are done on a quarterly basis to almost daily reads that's taking place in terms of engagement with the pieces that we're putting out. And everyone's playing a role in that, and understanding, okay, this worked and why did it work, and this didn't work and why didn't it work. And the more we learn why, the better will be the next time. And so that's an important part of the whole process for us. And so our business insights and analytics team are great partners with us as well, but our agencies provide us great data and information that we have to leverage to help us with all the work that we put forward from a social and digital standpoint, because you're going to have hits and misses, and as long as we can learn, so the fewer misses there are, the better, obviously. That's the goal.
A key part of this data-driven marketing strategy that you have is staying on top of trends, pop culture, sport, in general. Something that we've also seen in media is when like a documentary comes out, there's much more attention that fans have on the documentary than even some of the live games. So for Essentially Sports, when The Last Dance was released, it was we saw a huge surge in traffic, even though active games were also going on at that time.
Nobody in this room watched The Last Dance, I would hope. I'm kidding, obviously, Michael Jordan. Anyways. But you're right. I mean, the fact is, those, you can go to, Run, Barry, Run. That had, those do have amazing followings in terms of driving engagement. And so that the Michael Jordan show was, I mean, people were talking about it. It was like the water cooler talk. I mean, it was as big as any game. And we just like to make fun of Michael Jordan in Detroit. But in all seriousness, it was huge. And Run, Barry, Run was huge. So there's the opportunities out there in terms of the different content that's out there today, whether it's games, and again, it was mentioned before, I mean, the viewership for women's college sports. It's all changing and evolving, right? And so it's a matter of staying on top of all that to make sure you're in the right places, and making sure that's where your guests are too. So sometimes our guests aren't going to be somewhere where there's a lot of people, but we try to make sure where there are a lot of people, a lot of those people are our guests.
And do you have a certain strategy when it comes to capitalizing on these movements in terms of your target audience, or do you just see the magnitude of the trend, or have a certain blueprint in terms of be it entertainment or sport that you tap into when you choose which ones to spend on?
So we try to be varied. We talked a little bit about NASCAR. I know your organization does a lot with NASCAR, and we support NASCAR as one of our media partners. But we certainly have to make sure that everything, that there's such breadth and depth. And so the NFL decision came down to the fact that we did some surveys that said Applebee's guests over-index to NFL fans. And that was really important for us making that investment with the NFL because because we just don't have that kind of money sitting around, right? So we have to be really careful with every dollar we invest. Wasn't quite the case at McDonald's. It just was different. And with being at Applebee's, it makes you a little more careful, to be honest with you. And I think that's been important for us. And so understanding that correlation is important to any investment we make in our media or any of the content creation we do.
Speaking about trends, I think we have a good spot that we wanted to play.
That was an NIL program that was done with our local franchise group in Raleigh. And they had been doing some great work. They actually worked with a player at the University of Kansas who was friends with Caitlin Clark, and she liked and commented on one of his posts about Applebee's, and we were like as excited about that as seeing that many people show up at the Applebee's, which was fantastic. But that was unbelievable too. And so in terms of how we also make sure we, eating good in the neighborhood and having pictures of high school players in our restaurants and celebrating the local franchisee here in Detroit when the local Little League Baseball championship team came from the Detroit area, put up a wall painting and a mural and brought the team in, and that was very cool. So how we bring all of that in, as well as the local aspect. Yes, the NFL is big and huge, but when you have Brandon Ayuk doing that type of promotion in a restaurant, if we can bring that forward in our national promotions, we want to do that, as well as leverage things like NIL. Those guys were great partners. They were the cost effectiveness on that one from an ROI standpoint was phenomenally good.
Did you expect those many people?
We did not. No, it was shocking, and we were just obviously thrilled to see the excitement, and it provided a big halo for that whole region of the country.
Wrapping up, Applebee's has a very distinct culture founded on eating good in the neighborhood. How does that core messaging fit into the overall marketing vision and strategy?
Yeah, I think it goes to just that element of it, right? Is how do we take the localness of it, and as well as the broader national landscape of the NFL. And so that's one of our goals with the NFL is to make it local. How do we bring in the NFL so that people in Detroit connect Applebee's and the NFL and the fandom that there is for Detroit, and how do we do that in every market across the country in a way that's real and authentic and comes across as not just a national promotion that we did by spending so much money with the NFL. It's got to be something that connects to people and they go, wow, this is fun. This is a reason for being. This is where we just launched America's Favorite Boneless Wings at the same time we're launching the NFL partnership. I mean, there's no better food that goes with watching NFL games. So I mean, we're constantly thinking about how we tie everything we do together, and I think that's just critically important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Joel, for your time and your precious insights.
Most importantly, go Lions. And Tigers and Red Wings and Pistons. They're all coming along. It's exciting.
Do we have time for Q&A?
What an interesting thing you guys did around March Madness was I just went to Applebee's, I found out about the boneless wings special, ordered it, had a great time, and I associated it with March Madness. you guys weren't, I think you guys weren't official sponsor, right?
We were not.
Oh, right. So it's like, can you explain a little bit? I assume that wasn't coincidental.
You would be correct. No, it's a great point. It's a great insight, and that's exactly right. And there's a whole backstory on how that came to be and how we tied it into that time of year. It's a natural fit, right?
Yeah.
So we again tested the product out and wanted to make sure that the country knew about the fact that we won this competition against main competitors that had wing in their name, which we didn't, which was also in the ad. We're proud of that. And so we tended to launch it around a big sporting event programming opportunity, and it worked out for us.
Yeah. Hi, Joel. Reed Harris from Kenview. Thanks for wearing your Lions jersey and your shoes. I got my Lions shirt on too, so proud to represent Detroit. I started hearing about Applebee's more and more a couple years ago when I heard a country song by Walker Hayes. Fancy like Applebee's on date night, where he got the bourbon shake and the Oreo, or the bourbon steak and the Oreo shake. What did that do for your company? Did you play off that? Did you know about it? Did you build a campaign off of it? Or can you share anything about, or did you just wake up, turn on the radio, and like, well, this is good PR?
Yeah, thanks for the great question, because it was really important. And it was what was great about what happened there is there was lightning, and then we took a bottle and tried to capture it, right? And that was why it worked, is because, again, it was an authentic, evolving piece of content that started with a song we had nothing to do with. It was a true, real story about this country music singer from Alabama who had not had a big hit before, but had some smaller hits. He and his wife had been through a lot. They started off, as most Applebee's customers are, more on the lower middle income range. And they would go on dates to Applebee's, which I've done with my wife before. We had kids over 24 years ago. But he caught it, put it in a song that was very catchy, became the song of the summer. We monitored it for a little while, and then we thought, this thing's something. We've got to figure out how to utilize it. And again, to the work of PR and creative and the team thinking there was some talk about forcing, I think, some creative elements to it. We just took the TikTok videos of thousands and tens of thousands of people putting his song to a dance, captured that, put it on a TV commercial, and as well as using it off TikTok. But again, took it all off TikTok, and it was a real authentic celebration. And it was also, the timing couldn't have been better, right? We're coming out of the pandemic. Everyone was exhausted with everything that's going on in the world. And this was something fun and unique. And yeah, for some people it was an earworm, and it was got a little obnoxious. Maybe for us it was gold, and it was beautiful. And we loved that song, and we love Walker because we developed a real authentic relationship with him, which again goes back to a little bit of my themes on how we do whatever we do in a way that comes across as authentic and real as possible, because we try to make it that way. And that was one of those, and that was a critical element for us in the summer of 22, and we still stay in touch with Walker.
Amazing. I think we have time for one more quick question. If not, I'm going to close with one of my own questions. Joel, did I hear you correctly? You're part of the brain trust for the all-day breakfast at McDonald's?
I play a role as well as hundreds of people, yes.
I would say, as a former college athlete, a fullback at that matter in the Big Ten, pushing around 260, the all-day breakfast was like very near and dear. So talk about knowing what your guests want. Joel and his team, that's prime right there. So thank you both so much for your time and sharing your insights.